This is Skip with the Widescreen Gaming Forum, and today we're taking a look at the Dell 43 Ultra HD 4K multi-client monitor. The Dell P4317Q is a 43-inch 4K Ultra HD monitor that Dell aims at its productivity users. It offers picture-by-picture modes that Dell dubs multi-client in the full product name. The Dell P4317Q is squarely aimed at office and home office workers who want to connect multiple devices to one monitor. I hadn't considered replacing my Eyefinity and ultra-wide setup with a single large 4K display until I saw Linus review the Philips 40-inch 4K and note that with custom resolutions, you can get ultra-wide aspect images within a 34 to 38-inch diagonal. With that revelation, I set out to try the large form factor 4K and purchased the Dell P4317Q. Setup of the monitor is relatively straightforward. Unlike smaller Dell displays, the stand doesn't click into place. It's fixed into place with bolts in a 200mm VESA pattern and hidden by a plastic cover. The only difficulty is trying to manage the size and weight of the panel by yourself. The Dell P4317Q is spec'd as follows: 42.5-inch 16:9 aspect IPS panel, 4K 3840x2160 resolution with 104 ppi, 60 Hz DisplayPort inputs only, 1001 contrast, 350 nits brightness, 8 milliseconds gray to gray response, 178 degree viewing angles, 44% haze non-glare coating with 2H hardness, picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture modes, one DisplayPort and one mini DisplayPort version 1.2, two HDMI version 1.4 with MHL support, and one VGA. It also has 4 USB 3.0 connections, 8-watt stereo speakers, and audio input-output connections. The base offers tilt only, no rotate, and no swivel. It has 100mm and 200mm VESA mounting options. I did wall mount mine as shown in the picture here, and it comes with the Dell Display Manager software and retails for about $1,000. Most of the specs are what you'd expect. I didn't expect FreeSync from Dell as they've only put out G-Sync panels in the past. It would be nice to see a higher refresh rate, even just 75 Hz, or a curved display. The one real head scratcher is the lack of HDMI 2.0, which means you can't run an Xbox One or a PS4 at 4K 60 Hz. With all of that out of the way, let's now look at how the Dell P4317Q actually performs. In this review, we'll go from good to bad, from things that work well to those things that could use some work. Though not perfect, the Dell P4317Q really shines in the areas of form and function. Let me start this by saying that I like this form factor. I really like the large scale screen in 4K resolution. The 43-inch 16:9 is several inches wider than both the 34-inch or 38-inch ultra-wide panel. And it's about the size of a pair of 25 or 27-inch 16:9 panels in portrait. With custom resolutions, you can game on a 39-inch ultra-wide canvas. You can play in either a non-scaled 3840x1600 resolution, as offered on the LG 38UC99, or you can scale the more common 3440x1440 ultra-wide resolution found on 34-inch panels across a larger canvas to help reduce performance hit. You can also try out the double-wide 3840x1080 resolution and 32:9 aspect that Samsung is championing with their CHG90 ultra-wide panel. You can also game in the double-wide aspect with the PBP functionality enabled and use the two other inputs for wikis, YouTube chat, etc. Dell offers a couple of cool PBP options, but I wish they had more variety. They offer a vertical side-by-side, a 3-input option in which the left column is split into 16:9 segments, a quad 2x2 arrangement, and finally another 3-input option where the top row is a single band. Setting up the PBP options is easy. Once a mode is activated, you can easily select which input is mapped to which portion of the screen. If you use a 1080p input on a full horizontal stripe, that signal is centered, creating a pyramidal viewing experience. The picture-in-picture functionality works good as well. The default size is 1080p and takes 1 full quarter of the screen. A smaller 720p option is also available. The PIP window can be moved between all four corners. I do wish that the P4317Q offered a smaller 480p picture-in-picture window and more options for fine-tuning a specific location. Enabling and configuring both picture-by-picture and picture-in-picture are done through the Monitor OSD menu. Dell continues to do a really good job with their OSD. If you used a previous model of Dell panel, the OSD here will be familiar to you. I also like the tactile physical buttons on the P4317Q. I've grown tired of the capacitive touch buttons on the Dell UltraShout monitors I've been using. It's difficult to find the right button in the dark. I never press the right one first, and I end up mashing the virtual buttons like I'm playing a Street Fighter II Midnight Tournament. Another place that the P4317Q shines is with the Dell Display Manager software. The software is primarily used for the Easy Arrange feature that allows for segmenting of your desktop into virtual areas for window management. Easy Arrange offers 21 different layouts with options ranging from off to 6 different virtual areas. The 21st option is a custom layout that you can create yourself. DDM can also be used to adjust the display's brightness, contrast, and color temp without diving into the OSD. One interesting note is that the Easy Arrange feature can be used independently for each unique Windows source in the PBP arrangement. From here we exit the space of what the Dell P4317Q does really well and move into some shaky ground. I use the Spyder 5 Elite Plus to analyze the display's performance on the standard color setting after calibration. The calibrated brightness setting of 120 nits is about 25% of the total brightness. The P4317Q covers 100% of sRGB and 79% of Adobe RGB, and it earns a 5 of 5 ratings. A gamma of 2.5 receives a 1.5 out of 5, and a white point of 11,000 bottoms out at a 0 of 5. The panel is rated at 350 nits of brightness and achieves this at about 80% brightness. It maxes out at 420 nits. Contrast ratio averages 625 to 1 above 25% brightness, but is far less than the 1000 to 1 claimed in the spec. Spyder still rates this a 5 of 5. The 4 color presets align to color temps as follows: Standard 11,200 Kelvin, Paper 5,300 Kelvin, Warm 6,200 Kelvin, and Cool 10,400 Kelvin. The panel suffers significantly in the luminance uniformity, with the top third averaging 15% dimmer than the center, and with an average 10% dip in the bottom center. The panel does rate highly in color uniformity, though it does suffer a bad hotspot at 100% brightness. Overall color accuracy is very good with an average delta E of 1.43 prior to calibration, with 1F blue being the one anomaly at a 7.18. Calibration with the Spyder 5 raises the average to 1.94, but lowers the max value to 3.93 and improves the color-to-color consistency. Overall, Spyder rates the P4317Q at a 3.5 out of 5. Above average overall, with some well-performing areas, but with some serious deficiencies in white point and luminance uniformity. These issues may not be noticeable to the home user, but media professionals or any serious media hobbyists should be aware. On the gaming side, performance is what you would expect from an IPS panel from Dell. It isn't a high refresh rate, but I didn't notice any bad ghosting either. Nothing spectacular, but nothing bad. Viewing angles are also very good, as expected with an IPS panel. A couple of other points to make. When searching the Dell P4317Q before purchase, I found a number of people experiencing several issues with the panel. The first of the reported issues was image retention. The second was problems with font smoothing due to the panel having a BRG subpixel layout rather than the more traditional RGB. And the last was flickering of the backlight due to PWM implementation for brightness control. I'm happy to say that I didn't see any of these issues. In using the panel for a month, I never noticed any issues with image retention. I implemented TrueType fonts in Windows 10 and enabled font smoothing in Mac OS X, and didn't see any issues with fonts on either OS. Finally, Dell has attempted to address the issue of PWM flickering. They suggest one or two solution courses. First is to keep the brightness at 75% above, and two, to use an updated firmware, revision M2C 103. I kept the brightness at 75% for my own personal preference, and the monitor came with M2C 103 already installed, and Dell now offers a newer BIOS, M2C 104. One odd note is that while using picture-by-picture, I couldn't get the monitor to power off and go to sleep mode when my machines themselves were asleep. The display would stay on and show each segment as not having an input signal. When a single source would go idle, the display would sleep just fine. If we were to consider the first parts of this review to be the good and the bad, or maybe the good and the meh, then the price would be the ugly. The Dell P4317Q retails for about $1,000 on either Amazon or Dell.com. This is $300 more than the retail price for the similar LG 43UD79 43-inch 4K panel. While $300 less, the LG model offers a total of 6 inputs versus the 4 on the Dell. The LG swaps the mini DisplayPort for USB Type-C and adds 2 HDMI 2.0 inputs. The 43UD79 also comes with AMD FreeSync, which is helpful while trying to game at high resolutions. And it comes with a remote control, which makes easy work of volume, brightness, selecting picture-by-picture or picture-in-picture, selecting an audio source, navigating the OSD menu, and more. The LG 43UD79 would need some significant performance issues to offset being $300 cheaper. With comparable and possible better options on the market for 70% of the price, I can't recommend the Dell P4317Q to anybody. Maybe if it offered some premium features such as G-Sync or a curved screen, but as it stands, I can't recommend it to any individual user. If your company's a Dell shop and you're locked into buying Dell and you're not producing media, then this may be a pricey option for you. Just know the pros and more importantly the cons of your purchase. For now, I'll be returning my P4317Q to Dell and looking to the LG option as an alternative.